we are here with Kristy. That's very scandalous.
I'm a scandalous person.
Who is a mask maker regularly at the Fosnac event? Or
Yeah, we've gone since 2020.
Okay. So tell me, first of all, take me back to your first mask or complex cosplay that you created. Tell me a little bit about how that came about.
My very first costume with the big mask I made in 2012. I made a pyramid head. So I worked at Kohl's, and I worked the overnights at Kohl's and helped load stock, and I took home all the styrofoam.
Oh.
And I used all the styrofoam from Christmas decor and made the pyramid head mask and duct taped it all together. Learned you can't spray paint foam. Yes, I used all the polystyrene, made the mask, and then I used an old wicker basket and 2 beer cans and some screws and made a pyramid head. Cool. And that was my first big costume that I made.
Oh, I love that. All right, tell me what your most challenging piece has been.
The hardest thing I've ever made was the Fallout quilt that I had last night.
Oh. Yeah, that thing is awesome.
It was terrible.
It's prominently featured in a video I made recently.
Thanks. I love it, and I made it just for the event, but it was so hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever made.
Was it the sewing, or was it the making the icons from the game, or a little bit of all of that?
All the above. Because I had to cut out each different color was a new piece of fabric, and then I had to press it together, and then I had to sew it on. It would have been easier if I didn't attach the pieces to the main fabric and sewed them prior, but I didn't know how it would work with the adhering material, and I don't have a quilt sewing machine. I have a regular small sewing machine, and it was just it was a nightmare. Okay. But that was the hardest thing I've ever made.
Well, it's awesome. It's certainly the only thing like it that exists, and I think it's awesome. So for mask making, tell me a little bit about your process and how do you decide what you're going to make, and maybe just the materials and process.
So I have 2 different processes that I use for my masks. This owl was my first one. This is plaster strips, and I got them when Hobby Lobby went out of business. So I used this plaster strip because I thought it kind of looked like paper mache, and Mod Podge was expensive. So I used plaster strips for this, and then I have the pumpkin Vault Girl head that I also made out of paper mache, and then all my other masks are made out of EVA foam.
Okay.
So the paper mache is different. It has a different texture. It takes a little longer. It needs a base. EVA foam doesn't. I have a circle pattern. I start with a circle or the helmet pattern, and then just build on top with foam clay. But it's pretty easy once I pick my mask for the year.
Oh, and how do you pick your mask for the year?
Sometimes I'll do an Instagram poll.
Oh.
And then sometimes I just find one I really like the owl. I love the owl. It was my favorite. So I just made the owl. The Brahmin, that one I just loved. And then the pumpkin was a pole, and then the power armor, I wanted to do a mashup. So the Mr. Fuzzy Nuka Girl, I can't wear a Nuka Girl costume, but I love the Nuka Girl concept, and I love Mr. Fuzzy. So I talked to AI and told it to make me a mashup. That's awesome. Then I was like, well, the power armor head's smaller than the Mr. Fuzzy mascot head, so I made the power armor.
I love the power armor one.
Thanks.
I love that one. If you were to give advice to somebody who was wanting to learn mask making from scratch and they had no knowledge, what would you recommend for them? I actually, the last person I asked that recommended your channel. Just where do you recommend they start?
Ask the community for help.
Yeah.
There's tons of Fallout Facebook groups. There's the Reddit groups. Facebook group's a little nicer than the Reddit group, but just ask hey, I want to make this, where do I start? And we have patterns, we share everything. When I made the Nuka Girl outfit, I got in one of the groups and hey, I want to make this, and everybody gave me the STL files. If you're near a university, you might be able to ask them, they have makerspace, and they let you use the 3D printers.
Have a favorite memory from that is a result of mask making?
Let's see. I like our big Fallout group that we have now. So, from our second Oshnaut, we met a bunch of people, and like now we have this big community that we meet every year. So that's kind of my favorite thing.
Great. That
It's a lot
community
of
is
fun.
my favorite part of this game too.
Right?
That's why I always go to the in-person stuff. And final questions. Do you have any specific resources or shout outs that you would like to do? Or do you have a place where people can follow you?
Yeah. Okay. So
that you want them to?
if you want to, I get a lot of my patterns from Kamui Cosplay. Highly recommend Kamui Cosplay for the basic head mask patterns. Yeah, her stuff's amazing. The patterns are like $4.
Is it Kamui? I just guessed.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I got all my base patterns for the heads, and then I add on top of them. And then my Instagram and Blue Sky account are WV Science Lady.
Oh.
Yay. I have links to tutorials I can send you, but they're not currently public.
All right, fantastic. Well, Kristy, thank you so much for your time, and I'm trying not to sound all corporate-y. it's kind of ingrained.
It's all good.
Yeah, just thank you, and thank you for sharing your expertise in the community. Yeah.
Yay.
Take my hand.